Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar brought to you by the University of Management and Technology. My name is John Hu, Vice President of Academic Affairs at UMT. Before we begin, I would like to play a short video introducing UMT to you.
In January 1998, University of Management and Technology was established by its founders, Dr. Yanping Chen and Dr. J. Davidson Frame, in Arlington, Virginia. UMT's goal is to provide high-quality education programs to our students and to promote academic excellence in higher learning.
UMT is an institutional member of the Council of Higher Education Accreditation and is accredited by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission. We offer over 30 degree programs in business administration, criminal justice, homeland security, healthcare administration, computer science, information technology, engineering management, and public administration. Our degrees range from associate, bachelor, master's, to doctorate. UMT has built a strong global higher learning community through its online and distance education. Our students reside in 50 states, the District of Columbia, 4 U.S. territories, and 78 countries worldwide. UMT is committed to excellence in project management. With more than 20 years of experience in leadership roles within the Project Management Institute, Dr. Chen, president of UMT, has made significant contributions to the organization. She has served as chair of the PMI Global Accreditation Center, chair of the PMI Certification Governance Council, and vice chair of the PMI Board of Directors. Dr. Chen is also honored as a PMI Fellow. Recognized for her exceptional dedication and impact in the project management community, UMT's degree programs in project management are accredited by the Global Accreditation Center of PMI. UMT is an authorized training partner of PMI. Through Project Management Institute Education Foundation, UMT has donated more than $300,000 in scholarships supporting students and advancing the future of project management education worldwide.
Okay, so that's a short video there. So right now, moving on, we have several wonderful speakers for you guys today. They're all experts in their field. I would just ask that please hold your question. Well, you can always use the Q&A for questions, but we will answer them at the end of the presentation. And now I would like to introduce Uma Herimagalu. Uma is currently serving as the president and chair of the board for 2024 at the PMI Washington, D.C. chapter. It's the largest PMI chapter in the world. She has also held various volunteer leadership positions at the PMIWDC chapter, such as chair-elect of the board and COO in 2023, vice president of program on the operations board, director at large on the governance board, VP of technology, and chapter liaison for PMI Education Foundation. I also heard that she likes to travel a lot, riding on camels and maybe venturing to the jungle, maybe. But yes, Uma.
Well, thank you for the kind introduction, John. I want to welcome you all on behalf of the PMI Washington, D.C. chapter, and a big thank you to Teresa Wall, who is my VP of membership and volunteer management, where our youth and social impact programs fall under. So the UMT, as our largest partner, so we're the newest partner to the chapter, so we welcome you to our community, and we really appreciate the support from the university and looking forward to expanding our reach to your students. So this particular programming, University Project Management Talks, was something that we piloted many years ago with the intent of taking the programming to the students, to the campus, versus having the students come to various locations where we hold our monthly chapter events and other events. So UPMT was born, and we've been going from campus to campus every quarter and taking with us our speakers and having pizza and sodas and networking and panel discussions. when Yanping and I were chatting earlier this year, and she wanted to get more involved with the local chapter, she explained that she has an online university, and how can we take programming to your students? And so that's where we said, all right, let's pilot a eUPMT where we will do an online version of the same TED Talk style program. So looking forward to hearing from various speakers, experts, academicians who will be talking about various facets of the talent triangle in a very short time. So that way you get to hear various different topics, various different views, but then you also get to hear from an entrepreneur who is technically not involved with project management, and then you will understand how project management is a life skill and it applies across all industries, all facets of our lives. So today we have some excellent speakers who are going to join me, and we hope to bring this program to all of you online. Send it back to you, Jen.
All right, so Terry, are you going to introduce the first speaker?
I can. I thought actually that Emma was going to do that, but that's okay. Our first speaker for the evening is Rahsan Hassanoid. Rahsan, pardon me if I pronounced that incorrectly. He has done a few speaking events with PMIWDC in the past, and I will let him give you some more information. Rahsan.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
So excellent. My name is Rahsan Husseinov. I'm Senior IT Program Manager and Solution Architect for Copilot and Power Apps. And today I will talk about how we can leverage Copilot to create custom agents for our project management use case. So we will cover what's Copilot Studio. That's the tool that I'm going to use. And I will also do a quick demo to show you how you can easily create agents just using natural language. So you have probably you've been probably using Copilot or ChatGPT, kind of chat experience. You provide your prompt and it basically summarizes things or create new content for you, etc. But you can get more benefits if you are using Gen AI in your organizational settings because it connects to your organizational data, which can be very efficient for you. So here, when we say Copilot, the name actually updated. It's now called Agent. It's basically there to help you to automate your tasks, create new content. If you are in software development, it can help you to create the software applications, can do like cloud workflows. And also if you use Power BI, it can also help you to analyze and create the visualizations. Today, our topic is more around how to create these Copilot using natural language. Of course, you can take it to further if you know coding, but I wouldn't recommend that because out of box, there are so many great capabilities that you can leverage. So in spectrum of agents, today we will talk about simple, but you can always take to advanced level. So first time you use these Copilot agents, you typically build them around like retrieval of the data. Let's say you rolled a new software solution and you have multiple playbooks, you have frequent asked questions for your users. So sometimes those can be very lengthy and users don't necessarily have time to read them. So you can create agent feeding that files into your agent, and it can help your users to get the answers they want. You can also post this in your different channels, can be Teams, can be your website, even Facebook, and users can interact with your agent. Unlike traditional chatbots where it's very limited, you have to certainly know what you are asking, the modern conversational AIs provides you more capabilities where as if you talk to a person. So this is the first use case. On the other hand, we have another agent category which called tasks. So that means that, for example, you can create agent to assign the project's task to team members. All you need just chat with your agent saying that I need to assign task to project team member, let's say Rafsan, due date this, and these are the task description. It will go ahead and add task to your database. That can be SharePoint list, that can be, for example, Dataverse, etc., and then notify the team member that, hey, you have assigned to other a new task. This is also generally available, and Microsoft announced this last week during the Microsoft Ignite. But I'm more excited about autonomous agents. This can be like as if you have a colleague. So so far we've been communicating with chatbots or Gen AI providing prompts, but this is different. This has its own thinking, intelligent capabilities. It can take the prompts for you the first time, and it can sequentially do certain actions on behalf of you. So this is currently in preview, and we will have more updates on this 2015. So imagine for enterprises or small businesses, this can have huge impact, especially the ones with the limited budgets that they need to hire people. This can certainly help them to boost their efficiency. So before doing our demo, I want to introduce you to Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio is part of Microsoft Power Platform. The Power Platform is Microsoft's suite of low-code, no-code tools, plus Gen AI, where you can build custom applications, you can do automations. If you are aware of Power BI, familiar with Power BI, you can do data analysis, business intelligence, etc. And one of them is called Copilot Studio. This will allow or enable you to create custom agents or Gen AI solutions for your own needs. And it's no-code, low-code plus Gen AI. And if you want to take it to further, you can always connect to Azure AI Foundry, but I don't recommend that. That's like high code. And plus, we have additional capabilities here. We can connect to more than 1,400 data sources. That can be Microsoft ecosystem, that data come from Microsoft ecosystem like SharePoint, Dataverse, Azure, or that can come from outside like ServiceNow, Atlassian, Jira, etc. We have AI Builder. This is you can build your own custom AI models tailored to your own business. For example, if you run a business, if you are working with the invoices, you can build custom agent. Basically, it can take all the invoices, extract the information, put it to Excel spreadsheet for you, and trigger an email saying that you have a new invoice. And you can also put additional logic there to understand the any anomaly and immediately trigger warning. So we have Microsoft Dataverse here. You can easily, this is data platform basically. It's really easy to create the relational databases. And we have PowerFX. This is the custom coding language for Power Platform, and managed environments. This is more for admins. So, but today's topic is Copilot Studio. This is end-to-end software as a service to create custom agents tailored to your own solutions, own use cases. And with that, you can easily create agents or copilots. You can design the conversation. It's super easy. And you can publish to different channels. As I mentioned, this can be Teams, this can be websites, apps. You can even publish it into WhatsApp if you connect with your customers using WhatsApp, and you can easily manage it. It also provides you admin capabilities. You can track if there is anything that you need, it needs your attention. And the roadmap here, basically, when you create the generative AI agent, and then you create the specific topics for your different use cases inside one solution. And along the way, you can publish it, you can constantly monitor it and integrate with other AI services. All happens into single one solution, which is fantastic. So now it's demo time. Let me go ahead and open Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio, this is the web URL that you can go there, or you can just go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com. If you have University or Microsoft account, you can easily you can get a free trial account to try this. As long as you just build to testing or learning purposes, this will be available for you. If you try to deploy it, then you will need licensing. So here, as you can see, this is a chat experience. Right now, I have all the sample agents that I can leverage here. For example, Save Travels, Store Operations, Website, Team Navigation, and there are more agents are coming. One of them I saw, it's for project management. So here, list of the agents that I built, and I'm gonna go ahead and create a new agent. So click New Agent. So here it's asking me what agent will be about. I need to provide instructions. So what I am doing here, I have Microsoft 365 and I saved my prompt here, saved. So I'm going to take entire prompt. One of the things that we need to keep in mind when we interact in AI solutions, providing really enough context, goal, etc., so that it can understand and create the things that we want. Otherwise, it's really hard for AI to understand. So here I'm saying that you are an intelligent and friendly ServiceNow project management assistant designed to help users with frequently asked questions about the newly released software application. You can read it later. I'll just put it here. So all I need, just click Send. Now it's working. Perfect. It got the all instructions from my prompt, as you can see here, and it created the instructions for itself. So for any agent or Copilot, you need to provide instructions so that it can understand in which process it will do what. So I can do further here, but let's say I will say, your name is ServiceNow agent. So as you can see, it immediately updated the name because it's smart enough. So we can do more, but I'll just skip to configure. So from here, I can rename it, change the icon. And here is the description, and here is the instruction. It just created the instructions for itself. So provide quick and accurate answers about the installations, configuration, troubleshooting, etc. And all I need now, just click Create. It's that fast. It takes just a seconds to configure, and then we can do this small provisioning and we can start working. On the right side, you can see here is the chatbot saying, just welcoming me. And I can start interacting with the chatbot. For example, click Send. So far, I haven't connected to my organizational data. Now what it will do, it will go ahead and look like outside of the organization, which connected large language model. So as you can see here, it's bringing data from outside, and I can see the conversation from here. This is the planner. It helps me to see where I am. But we don't want to look for the large language models. We want this connect to our organizational data. So to do that, I will come to Overview. There are multiple actions here you can see. I will click Enable. This will do the orchestration. And I will add a knowledge source. Click knowledge source. I can connect to Dataverse, SharePoint, public websites. And all I need, I have a file here called ServiceNow frequent asked questions. Upload it. So as I said, I need to provide description so that AI can understand the purpose. Click Add. Perfect. Now it connected to my data source. I'll come back here. So now, instead of connecting to external resources, I'll come back to data sources, close this because I don't want AI to connect to external sources. I want like specific information coming from my own organizational data. I'll come back here, click Add Knowledge. Sorry, search only selected sources. I'm asking my Copilot or agent saying that go ahead and search this specific file and bring data from there. So all I need now, click Save. Perfect. I'll refresh this. Let's look at the file here. For example, we have a step-by-step instructions on how to submit a ServiceNow ticket. I'll just copy this question. Come back here. So you see like this interacts with the person. Now I'll just say how to submit a ServiceNow ticket. So it goes ahead and looks at the knowledge source. Knowledge source is basically the sources that I provide to Copilot to leverage it. So here, if you look at it, just went ahead and looked at my data source. We can come back here. And here we are. And it also provides the generative answers so that users can get more like human-like text rather than basically plain AI style. So I can also come back here, tailor the message a little bit. So in the conversation start, this is the welcoming message. All I need to come here, just delete this. We can make this custom. So I want Copilot recognize the user when they log in. So we have already pre-built variables. Variables are the ones that temporarily stores the information so that user don't need to always provide their credentials. There are system variables here. We have user first name, display name, save. Now you can see just basically pulled my name because it knows that I logged in. Pay attention if you are building external facing chatbots. That might be challenging because they don't know who is logged in unless they have data in credentials in your database. So let's say I have chatbot ready. Now I can go ahead and channels. I can publish my Copilot and then put inside the Microsoft Teams. For example, you might have team members interacting with Copilot or agent inside Microsoft Teams. You can have demo website. You can have custom website. For custom websites, you would be working with your IT so that they can do the connections and etc. But you can bring more data sources. Right now, I have one ServiceNow. I can add additional data sources. Can bring data from Azure if you work with ServiceNow, Zendesk, Salesforce, etc. So all of your data resides there. Using these agents will help you bring those data so that people can use it to get their insights. So I think I'm done here. I can talk more about actions or triggers, but that's more like our next item, which is doing the task instead of retrieving the data. Terry, back to you.
Thank you, Rassan. Okay, our next speaker is going to be Uma Hiramagular. And just a little bit of a background for her. You've already heard that she is our current president of and chair of PMIWDC for 2024. She's also a servant leader with extensive experience in global IT management, service delivery, organizational change management, digital transformation, cloud managed services, cybersecurity, PMO, portfolio, program and project management. She is very passionate about lighting the next gen community and making their dreams a reality. Her passion is giving back to the community, and it's always at the core of Uma's life. With that, let me introduce you to Miss Uma Hermagular. I don't know why I'm having a problem with that today. Uma.
No worries. Thank you for the kind introduction, Terry and Rafsan. That's always interesting to hear your presentation. So hopefully folks got something new out of it. So today I'll be sharing a little bit about inclusive leadership. So we've all heard the term DE&I, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what we fail to do is we hire the people, but do we create the environment that helps them to feel included? So hopefully we can spend the next few minutes talking about this and sharing some thoughts in the chat. So this is an entire workshop that I do at work. It's a couple days workshop or a full day workshop. So this is a very abridged 15 to 20-minute version that you're going to get from me today. So very quickly, let us kind of establish what are some of the definitions and what they mean. So when we talk about diversity, we are talking about the composition. The composition related to various facets on how we identify ourselves, whether it is by race, by gender, ethnicity, class, etc. And when we talk about equity, we're talking about the outcome. It's really about the condition that exists when the identity no longer determines what the outcome is. That is equity. Today, we'll talk more about inclusion, which is really the experience. Do you feel like you belong at work? Do you feel like you can bring your authentic self to work every day? Next slide, please. So we're now going to watch a video and we will have a little discussion about how we feel, whether there is inclusion, diversity, and equity at this work lunch. So you all have a seat at the table to this lunch conversation. Next slide, Terry, and you can play the video for us. Thank you.
All right, everybody, let's discuss some ideas. Who wants to start? Naresh. Well, you had that great idea last week about sustainability. Let's hear what you got.
I just thought.
Maybe while we're waiting for Naresh, I can share my idea.
Okay, well,
Carly,
let's give everybody an opportunity to speak, okay? Naresh, go ahead.
Okay, I thought we should try a policy of unlimited PTO.
Unlimited PTO? You work from home. You basically have unlimited PTO.
My partner's company has it, and it works out fine. Maybe it's about how we use it.
We all know your husband works for an amazing company.
I have a better idea. How about summer Fridays?
How about we let Naresh finish his PTO idea, okay? Naresh, continue.
I did some research, and it turns out it can be good for the company and the employees, provided they give enough notice before they're out.
Well, I like that. I think we should go ahead and try to bring it in for Q3.
Yeah, Golden Boy has done it again.
Well, I think it's a good idea. Thanks, Naresh.
It is a good idea, Naresh. Thank you.
All right, so tell me in the chat how you felt about this. Did it make you cringe? Did it make you feel uncomfortable? Did you want to jump in and be a part of the table conversation? And some of you may actually have been at the table and been, one of them at the table. You probably were Sandra, you were the manager trying to corral the team, or you were Naresh having the idea and still struggling to share it, or Carly, who's enthusiastic and wants to jump in. But do you feel like the leader is doing a good job setting the expectations? Whose responsibility is it to set that culture, but also make sure that everybody feels like they belong on the team? So I'd love to read your comments, and I will get to that here. So next slide, please. So when we talk about feeling included, when we're talking
All right,
about
everybody.
inclusion, oh, next, yeah. So when we talk about inclusion, it really matters. McKinsey analyzed how people feel about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. They found that while 52% of people feel their organizations are doing well on diversity, only 29% feel their organizations are doing well on inclusion. So there's serious work to be done on both fronts. But why do you think people still feel their organizations are doing so much worse on inclusion than diversity? Because diversity is natural, it already exists to an extent in every team that we are in, but inclusion is harder to define and to create, and companies are putting in effort and money to increase diversity, but it's harder to create that inclusion. Diversity is easy to measure, but inclusion is less tangible. It's how you and I feel, whether we are part of a team or not. So many organizations have diversity as part of their thoughtful policies around hiring, development, promotion, but inclusion doesn't happen just because of policy. So what happens when we focus on diversity but don't create an inclusive environment? It actually gets more difficult to create inclusion. And the more difference can equal more conflict. And without inclusion, conflict doesn't get resolved. And things might actually become less inclusive than they would in a less diverse group. So instead of adding their different perspectives to the group, people may feel like they just have to assimilate and fit in, or they may just leave because they feel out of place. Next slide, please, Terry. So when hiring diverse talent isn't enough in the workplace, it's the workplace experience that shapes whether people remain and thrive. Think about your own experiences at work. Who has the greatest impact on an individual's workplace experience? Typically, it's your leaders, your team members, your supervisor. So, as a leader, your daily interactions dramatically decrease or increase how your team members experience inclusion. It might feel challenging to influence something as vague as workplace experience. After all, lots of things outside your control impact your team members' experience at work. So today we'll focus on 3 ways where you can meaningfully influence that experience. Next slide, please, Terry. So the 3 dimensions of a workplace are the relationship with the leader, your contribution to the work, and the culture of the team. So strengthening those one-on-one relationship with each team member, creating that opportunity for team members to make valuable contributions, and cultivating a culture of inclusion on your team. So as a leader, you impact these aspects of workplace experience every single day, either positively or negatively. So as inclusive leaders, we can proactively use our daily interactions to make sure that impact is positive. Next slide, please. So let us look at a definition of what is an inclusive leader. So inclusive leaders foster a workplace experience where each person feels seen, valued, and understood by their leaders and by other members of the team. That sounds good, right? Most leaders would agree they want this kind of a team. Why leaders? I think most members of a team would want this type of a team. So if you were thinking you were driving Picture this. You were driving on a rainy day, and as you go down the highway, you are stuck in a traffic jam. I bet this happens to all of us on any given day. There's a person in front of you who keeps hitting the brakes, and there's a person behind you constantly on the horn trying to get you to move forward. So you are kind of sandwiched here between the person in front of you and the person behind you pushing you. You have two choices. You can say, I can't get out of this highway. I have to go through this grind. But I wonder how each person is feeling right now. So instead of saying, I bet, shift the mindset to I wonder. Next slide, please, Terry. So when we make assumptions about people, if somebody shows up late to work, let's not start the dialogue in our own minds about, I bet that person was really not invested in the company. I bet that they had 100 excuses to not show up on time today. But if we shift the dynamics in our own minds before we get into a bias, it's saying, I wonder what happened. I wonder if everything is okay in her life. And I wonder if everything is going to be okay with him today. And I wonder why he's late. When we go from the sense of making assumptions to a state of mind of curiosity where we seek to understand, that shifts the mindset to become a more inclusive leader and a more inclusive work environment. So we're going to touch on these three ideas that we talked about, but very quickly, we're going to talk about how you can take this and make this effective in your daily lives. So Terry, next slide, please. So when we're talking about connecting, we connect with an intent to understand each other. We seek that understanding, so we ask leading questions to seek understanding without making assumptions. We assess the quality of information that we have received and find ways on how can we improve that connection with each member on our teams. Next slide, Terry. When we look at creating opportunities, whether you're a leader, a supervisor, or a team member, you want to expand your view. You want to advocate for each other every day. And if you have the opportunity as a leader where you're making those assignments, you assign with intent. You give an opportunity for everybody to be able to grow and to be able to expand their experiences and knowledge at work. And the last one, next slide, please, Terry. The last one is to create and cultivate team inclusion. So we all have a predefined culture on our teams, but how can we define those behaviors where we can sustain the culture that we have created? A culture isn't static. Every time we have somebody leave the team, every time we have a new member join the team, the culture, the dynamics of your team shifts. So we need to go back and redefine what is our culture. We need to revisit it every time there's a change in the composition of our teams. So by doing these three easy steps, we can define a more inclusive work environment and a team. Next slide, please, Terry. So to wrap it up, we connect to understand, we create opportunities, and we cultivate team inclusion. So hopefully this has piqued your interest about how do we create a more inclusive work environment. If you're interested in more details, feel free to reach out to me. And if you saw the first slide, Franklin Covey has an excellent course around creating an inclusive leadership and sustaining that work environment in your team. So happy to share more details. If you go to the last slide, here's a little bit of a contact information. You can scan the QR code. Happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, we will address it when we get to the panel Q&A. So thank you, everybody. I will turn it back to Terry to introduce our next speakers.
Thank you, Uma. That was a great presentation. All right, our next speaker is going to be Jesse Fuel. Fuel. Is it Fuel or Fuel? He will let you know. Fuel. All right, where is it? I have it up here. I have a couple things open, so it's probably hiding behind it. All right. It's not coming up, Jesse. I do apologize again.
No worries.
I am going to turn it over to you, and you have your slide, so I will mute me off.
I do indeed. All right. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to part 3 of our 4-part program tonight. Already, I've learned a lot about how easy it is to generate an AI agent and how simple concepts and inclusiveness can have a real impact. My contribution to the evening is to talk about the false debate between project and product management. My name is Jesse, and I work as an executive consultant in product and project management, and this drives me crazy. It drives me crazy when I see professionals who are leading initiatives arguing over this. And I want to share with you 4 key thoughts here. We're going to introduce the contrast of concept versus reality. We're going to talk about how that led to a war in this community and what the underlying false expectation and false stereotype is around project management versus the modern reality. And we're just going to wrap up with a bottom line for you as project professionals and students to consider in your craft. So let's start first with what is a product? And I'm going to give a very compelling example to start us off. This is a product. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2025 Toyota Corolla. And it's the best-selling automobile of all time. 50 million Toyota Corollas have been sold worldwide over the last half century. But what's interesting is, like we think of this as a product, right? We buy this. It is marketed to us. It gives value for money. But it turns out that it's currently the result of 12 different mega projects. This is currently the 12th version of the Corolla that we've had over the last 50 years. And each one of these new versions or revisions is actually a pretty big deal because you've got a design, that the look and the feel, but then also the chassis. And then there's factory changes involved about how we're going to manufacture this car and replacement parts that need to be distributed all across the country, across the world for when you need new wipers and you need new filters. Each one of these new versions is a mega project for the product. And so what we see with the thing that we would consider to be the product, it's actually the result of a series of projects. Interesting. Let's take a look at another example. This is a project. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Pennsylvania Turnpike. This highway connects Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, 360 miles. This is when we think of like mega project. This is usually what we're thinking: construction, infrastructure. But what's interesting is as a turnpike, it's a toll road. And what that means is that first, people pay money to use it. Secondly, that money funds extensions. It originally launched only 165 miles in 1940, connecting 2 cities, Irwin and Carlisle. It expanded again all the way to the 1951 to the Ohio border. Then again in 1950 to Valley Forge, and then again to the Delaware River, until finally in 1956, it included the new Delaware River Bridge. And each year there are 200 million customers that generate $1.7 billion of revenue for this project. Because suddenly now this thing that we consider a project, it's got upgrades, operations, and it's got customer choice. A lot of times with mega projects like big towers in the sky or oil rigs, you don't think about there being customers with different choices that they can make about what product they're going to use. And so already you can see that projects and products are very intertwined. There's a lot of connectivity between these two concepts and the related disciplines that bring them about. So then what's the big deal, Jesse? Why are you all upset and sharing your evening with us about this? Well, so let's first start with some simple concepts. As you can see already, the idea of projects and products together is pretty straightforward. Like those of us who are students of project management understand that it's only one part of an organization. There's another part of the organization which is distinct, and that is around business operations. This is work that needs to be done, and it's like filling out tickets, satisfying requests, and it turns out that you need both in order to run a product. Product management requires both the completion of projects around the life cycle of a project as well as the day-to-day operations. And for those of you who are not aware, here's the product life cycle. This was established, this was made popular in the 1950s by a Harvard professor that said that all products go through a life cycle where you've got the introduction of the product to the marketplace, it grows and gains market share, it hits some market maturity and stability, but eventually over time, competition takes over and the original product starts to feel some pressure, and maybe you lose some market share and some sales because of competition, and maybe there's a new product, I don't know, Netflix, that replaces Blockbuster, and that product will kill you and move you out of business in favor of the next product. But what's interesting is if you can see like what we've already seen with the example of either the Toyota Corolla or the Pennsylvania Turnpike, whether it's cars or the roads that they drive on, a product lifetime features both projects, as you can see here, like we're going to do some R&D, a launch, maybe expand the markets into the international. We'll do an upgrade on the product. We'll introduce a partner program, maybe another partner program. Then we'll start to cut some costs when we get competitive pressure. And then, you know what? It's time to sunset this thing. But the whole time we've had marketing, sales, fulfillment, and support. This is just normal until we ran into a bit of a problem. And the problem came about, ladies and gentlemen, in the technology sector. And in the technology sector, there was a series of mistakes that were being made where projects were becoming increasingly challenged. There's a couple of data points here. Around the turn of the century, only 1 out of 8 projects, according to the European Union, were meeting their scope, schedule, and quality objectives. And 2004 saw 142 billion euros of overruns on technology projects alone. In 2008, a third of organizations abandoned, according to the Logica and their research, a third abandoned a major IT project. KPMG found 70% of organizations had 1 or more failed IT projects in the past 12 months. And then in 2015, after 10 years and 15 years or 20 years, depending on of culmination of this, 19% of all projects failed. Half of them were challenged. Only less than a third of projects were IT projects were considered successful. So it's very a simple concept, of projects and products interacting together. But when it comes to the tech sector, for some reason, it's just hard. Tech projects are hard. And so the tech community kind of reacted a little bit with a series of books that said, well, it's project management's fault. And so these books here, hashtag no projects, project to product, escape the build trap, where it's all about getting it done, outcomes or outputs, instead of having impact, outcomes, outputs over outcomes. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. And this infographic here kind of summarizes what this philosophical war ended up being about. It ended up being saying that projects are a little bit too narrow in focus, that you project people focus on outputs instead of outcomes. You focus on time, cost, and scope instead of metrics that really matter, like value and impact. And you're focused less on what is it worth and more on what does it cost. And you're focused less on stable teams that learn each other and support each other, more on temporary resources. And instead of focusing on cradle to grave, total cost of ownership, you only focused on getting it done and building it out. You're not interested in the business outcomes, but only in tasks outcomes. And as somebody who's been in tech and somebody who's been in project management, I've heard a lot of project managers say, a project is a temporary endeavor. I don't care what happens next. Or, it's not my responsibility whether the business case was worth it. That's the sponsor's responsibility. Or it's not my fault if the requirements are bad. That's the customer's fault. And there's a little bit of it's not my fault and I don't care disease that prompted this reaction. The good news is that was a whole lot of 20th century thinking. Because here's what's happened recently. And by recently, I mean, while those technology projects were failing, the project management industry was maturing and learning from those failures. So for example, what if instead of hashtag no projects, that's the problem, no deadlines, just keep going, fund more money, it's a product. What if instead we just said, well, let's say no to 20th century projects. Okay, maybe there are a few people who are all about scope, schedule, cost, the triple constraint. Well, back in 2009, the PMBOK came out, the Project Management Body of Knowledge, published by the Project Management Institute, the global standard for project management, said there's more to it than that. It's, you can't be too simplistic. And so like scope, cost, quality, risk, time, all of these things are really important considerations. Oh, and maybe there are some project managers out there who are just like, my job is to get it done and nothing else. Anything else is somebody else's problem. Well, it turns out that the most recent version of that project management standard, the 7th edition, introduced the idea of a system for value delivery, where now project managers are being asked to look at the big picture. It's not just get it done. It's what is our internal environment and how it's going to interact with this initiative, and what's the external environment and how it's going to interact in this initiative. Where does it fit within the portfolio or the other portfolio? We need to start adopting systems thinking as a community. And okay, yeah, maybe there was indeed a time where it was just about getting stuff done, checking the box, putting out my reports and templates. But just this past fall, the Project Management Institute announced new research that defined project success as whether the project was worth it. Does the value exceed effort and expense? If it does, then we can declare a project successful. And if we declare success as more than just getting it done and on budget, on time, but also to include the worth it criteria, nearly half of all projects in the world are still considered successful, which is a different number than the previous data that we were looking at earlier. So then where do we land? What does this mean then? If it turns out that the 20th century of project management led to this war against project managers and project management, and now we've evolved and expanded our expectations and understanding of what the discipline is about, what's the bottom line here? Well, the bottom line really is that projects and products are complementary concepts. Project management, product management are complementary disciplines that have shared expectations and specific nuances. Let me share with you what I mean. So both projects and products are investments for return on investment. The difference is, where does the money come from? It's a nuance. Projects are funded by sponsors who have a funding pool. These could be governments that want to create new infrastructure. These could be the corporate finance office that authorizes an internal policy project. These could be communities that do a fundraiser in order to pave a new driveway in the neighborhood, whereas products might have an initial funding from senior management or from venture capitalists, but there also is an exchange of money from customers. The concept of a product is that there is an exchange of value, whereas projects oftentimes are one-directional with that exchange of money and value. Likewise, both projects and products are value focused. Both ask the question, is this worth it? Is this project worth doing? Is this product worth buying? Those are very similar questions, but you can see the nuance there. And value from a project is about change from current state to future state. We're going to take this current highway and expand it. We're going to take this current school and upgrade it. We're going to take this current business process and formalize it. We're going to change something. Whereas with products, the value comes from the customer's usage of the product consistently or appropriately. You know, if I'm going to buy a product in the way of fireworks, there's probably only a one-time use, but we'll just produce more product and sell it again. People will be happy. And it's that consistency that is where the product value comes in. Whereas with with projects, it's a little bit more about a static change. And then another one is time horizon. That time matters. For projects, there's a specific short-term change that's intended to contribute to a long-term benefit. That long-term benefit for that school upgrade is for learning. That long-term benefit for the expanded highway is quality of life. That long-term benefit for the business, formalization of business process is about accelerating the onboarding of new hires. But projects and operations have to come together for the long-term value of a product. Building a product doesn't do anything. We have to deliver it. We have to distribute it. We have to sell it. So building is only part of the part for products, whereas with the project, it propels the product forward to the next state. So you can see here, similar expectations, similar outcomes. It's not really that different, especially when you consider how things have changed over the course of time. That's what I wanted to share with you tonight. If you beware, project professional, practitioner, and student, there are people out there who have a hang-up that projects are evil and misguided and short-sighted. But now you know that if you zoom out, modern project management is no longer playing by 20th century rules, and product management is a different animal with complementary considerations. Thanks so much for listening. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. That QR code is my LinkedIn profile. I have a policy to connect with everybody who wants to learn. Hope to hear from some of you. Thanks so much.
Jesse, thank you so much. Great presentation. Okay, we have our fourth panelist for the evening, Evelyn Chow. Evelyn is she received her certification from the Project Management Institute at just 14 years old. Since then, she's focused her passion for social service on empowering young change makers through project management. In 2023, she founded PMReady, the world's first student-led 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to nurturing the next generation of project leaders. With that, let me turn it over to Evelyn.
All right, so you can hear me okay, right? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen and we'll get started. So,
Evelyn, you want me to do it? Oh, you got it.
I got
You
it.
got it.
I got it. Yeah. So, okay. I think it's good. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Evelyn Chow, and it is my great pleasure to join this first online session of University Project Management Talk. At first, I would like to thank PMIWDC and also the University of Management and Technology for hosting the session, bringing project management learning to a much broader audience. Okay, so let me introduce myself first. I am a high school sophomore from Sibyl Friends School in DC. I earned the Project Management Ready certification from PMI right before I started high school. And since then, I have channeled my social service and entrepreneurship enthusiasm into youth empowerment. I founded PMReady, the world's first student-led 501c3 nonprofit, empowering the youth with project management. I recently published an illustrated book, Project ABC for Aspiring Change Makers, which won the 2024 International Impact Book Award. I am here to share my entrepreneurship story with PMReady, how I started it, what challenges I came across in its development, and how I applied project management knowledge and tools to handle those challenges. Last but not least, I will reflect on why project management learning is crucial for young people like me and invite you all to join my mission. So first, how did PMReady start? So my entrepreneurship journey started simply just out of curiosity. The spring before I started high school, I decided to learn something new. I chose to study project management. That was because I often heard from my parents that the project management professional, PMP certification, was a very challenging, yet highly valuable credential to obtain. I enjoy challenges a lot, and so I decided to pursue it. I was like, at school, we talk about projects all the time, so I've got to see what project management is all about. When I first began to learn project management, it was the first time I thought about what a project truly is. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the definition provided by Project Management Institute. A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Temporary, unique. I highlighted these keywords and I realized I'm doing projects every single day. Writing a history paper, playing an orchestra song, forming a show, drawing a piece of artwork, delivering this talk today, etc. Projects basically are all around our life. That is so cool. But do I have to learn project management to do a project well? Don't I have my subject teachers or coaches to help me? So as I studied further, I learned that project management has 10 knowledge areas: scope, schedule, cost, quality, procurement, resource, risk, communication, stakeholder, and integration. All of these areas work for the same goal. Can the project results create value? So for the first time, I started to think about project management in a systematic way. I thought to myself, I may not need project management training to do a project, like writing a chem lab report. But if I want to create something not just unique, but also valuable to benefit others, learning project management is essential. So I developed my understanding of a project as follows, which I often shared at other conferences I attended. An awesome project is a temporary endeavor undertaken with others to create a unique product, service, or result for others. You see, I added a few words to PMI's official definition. Awesome, with others, and for others. So as humans, we all want to feel something and feel awesome and be awesome. And to produce something awesome, we have to work with others and for others. That is project management, a transferable skill that can empower every change maker, regardless of the age. Yeah, despite its importance, project management is not a subject taught in school. That is a niche for me to fill. So after I earned my project management ready certification, I founded PM Ready, making the initiative to bring project management learning to a broader audience, particularly the youth. So that is how I started PM Ready, to stay curious and keep an open mind to discover new things. Curiosity can lead to innovative products or services. And within 1 year, PM Ready has hosted almost 20 webinars with over 600 registrants, with an online course and a virtual camp on project management with around 50 students enrolled, and a leadership and arts student competition that impacted almost 2,000 students. PM Ready has been approved as an official certifying organization for the President's Volunteer Service Award, and our work has been featured at PM World Journal, Youth Service America, and etc. These early achievements sound encouraging, but like every entrepreneur, I have challenges, many challenges actually to overcome. For example, how to balance my entrepreneurship passion with my schoolwork and other obligations. I actually just came from group practice, sorry. So also how to engage other students in learning project management, how to gain support from people who don't even know me, how to make PM Ready sustainable. So as I try to handle these challenges, I put the project management mindsets and tools into practice. And I feel so empowered. So now let me share just a couple of examples of how project management mindsets have helped me tackle challenges in my entrepreneurship journey. So PM Ready has been driven by projects for its development and publicity. For each project, such as a webinar or the camp, I need to gain others' collaboration or sponsorship. That requires me to take thorough and articulate the value and feasibility of the project to others. The tool that helps me to do so is the project charter. Before I learned project management, I tended to jump into doing something without thinking through what value I wanted my work to create and for community, or what are the potential risks. So after I learned project management, I developed the habit of drafting a project charter, even just a brief one before I started any project. A project charter is a foundational document that authorizes a project. It explains the features and the main deliverables, so everyone clearly knows what to expect. It also lists the key people involved, so everyone knows their roles and their responsibilities. A project charter acts as a guide throughout the project's life. Okay, so let me share the project charter that I developed for PM Ready's inaugural virtual youth camp, which was held in August 2024. So as you can see, my project charter includes the following elements: what the project name is, how will the camp benefit PM Ready, youth, and also our society. What are the specific goals the camp aims to achieve? Who will be involved in or affected by this camp? What programs or activities does the camp provide? What resources are needed to host the camp and achieve its objectives? What is the camp cost estimate? what are the assumptions, constraints, and potential risks that are associated with this camp? What deliverables will this camp produce at the end? What are the timeline and key milestones of this camp? The product charter I contributed to the success of this camp in so many ways. I presented this charter to corporations when I tried to request sponsorship. This is how I received the $5,000 sponsorship from Presidio Federal, a technology company providing IT solutions for government agencies. I presented the charter to project management experts and other youth leaders. That is how I secured the master lecture and speakers for the camp. Creating a project charter, even just a brief one, stimulates me to approach any project from a holistic kind of approach. By looking at the project as a whole, I can understand how different elements interact and affect one another. This holistic approach allows me to convince my potential sponsor or partners of the value of what I am doing so that I can gain their support. All right, so let's watch this 2-minute video of this.
As you can see, that one of the things I want to talk about.
Collect and provide oral histories at the same time, and
like I can tell that you're kind of
leading the interview.
Help us all. Right actions are not proper work.
As Evelyn mentioned, my name is Matt Anderson. I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Federal. For those of you that may be unfamiliar with Presidio, we're a global IT firm specializing in digital transformation. So let me start out by saying Presidio Federal is honored to sponsor the Project Management Youth Camp, and I want to thank Evelyn for giving us this opportunity.
So let's see if I can. All right. Okay, so another challenge. Gotta make sure. Okay, so another challenge that I came across as an entrepreneur is how to keep people effectively engaged. In project management, we refer to people as stakeholders. Engaging stakeholders effectively is crucial for an entrepreneur to achieve business success. First of all, we need to have an inclusive view towards people who need to be involved in our business. The stakeholder, as as a stakeholder is anyone who has an interest in or will be impacted by our business. And second of all, stakeholders need to be analyzed so they can be managed appropriately. Okay, so one tool I have been using for stakeholder management is stakeholder mapping, which is an exercise to help me determine who my stakeholders are in terms of interest and influence level, and also how much engagement communication they need. By mapping and prioritizing my stakeholders, I can focus my attention in the most impactful way. So let me tell a story of how I use stakeholder mapping to engage stakeholders for my nonprofit. In the spring of 2024, I led PM Ready in organizing the inaugural Leadership and Art Student Competition, a partnership with Collins Howell Academy, a public school in Maryland. So this competition led to 2 exhibitions, one at a regional art center and another at a public library. So I analyzed my stakeholders through stakeholder mapping. I identified the school's art director as a key stakeholder. She coordinates the art program and works closely with the students to facilitate their artwork submission. Her role places her in a position of significant influence and interest by ensuring the competition success. So by shifting her engagement from neutral to supportive, it became more likely that the art center and also the library would also become supportive because they could envision the potential success of the exhibition. Although I spent more time working with the art director, I did not forget to consider everyone else who needed to be involved in the project and how I should involve them. For example, art enthusiasts in my community have high interest but limited in, so I keep them well informed of the exhibition theme and also the schedule. Art center and library staff members might have low interest but high influence levels. So I made sure that I clearly understood their needs and followed their direction. In addition, the general public, school teachers, and even local businesses had minimal interest or influence over the competition or exhibition. And even so, I knew I needed to manage them appropriately because they still could be my nonprofit's potential supporters, collaborators, or even sponsors. So I try to build connections with them as well by highlighting the relevance of the exhibitions to their interests and encouraging their participation. The competition and the exhibition proved to be a success with the support from the school, the art center, the library, and also the general public. This project inspired students to see themselves as young change makers, some later even joining PM Ready as ambassadors. PM Ready developed long-term partnerships with the school, the library, and the art center. More excitingly, a local business decided to be a sponsor for PM Ready. And also a United Nations officer delivered an in-person speech at the exhibition's opening ceremony. Okay, so analyzing stakeholders and managing them accordingly stimulated me to rethink the definition of projects and business success. It is not merely about meeting time, budget, and scope constraints, but also about creating value for the stakeholders. The unexpected value generated by the competition, building a more connected community, highlighting that success is really a broader concept. Focusing on stakeholder value encourages businesses to look beyond immediate project outputs and consider the long-term impact and benefits. So this approach can lead to innovations and improvements that sustain business success over time. All right, so now that I have shared a couple of stories of how I applied project management mindset and tools to help my nonprofit grow and help me become a better entrepreneur, I would like to end my talk with an invitation and also an announcement. So if you are an adult professional, I invite you to be our speaker or youth mentor, attend our virtual events. Take a small bit of information. If you're a student, I wholeheartedly invite you to become a PM Ready ambassador. Take our online course, Project Management for Youth, publish a blog entry, facilitates an online meeting, or start a PM Ready chapter in your local community and be a chapter president. If you represent a PMI chapter, school, or cooperation, I invite you, your organization, to be our partner or our sponsor. Let's work together to develop new programming to make project management accessible for young people. And last but not least, I am thrilled to announce PM Ready's new initiative. It is a book publication tentatively titled Youth Voices of Change, Case Studies of Impactful Student Projects. We welcome students of all ages to tell their project story and contribute to research. We also welcome project professionals, entrepreneurs to join our publication project by reviewing student essay proposals or creating discussion topics for student essays. Every entrepreneur is a project leader, and I would like to end it off by saying that project management can help entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Thank you for listening, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much to all the panelists. I guess right now we'll open up for questions. If anyone has questions, please use the Q&A, and we will try to get those questions answered. I guess while we are waiting, actually, I have a question for Jess. I see that you're talking about projects and product management. So I worked at one of the defense contractors for many years, and we used to think, products as the result of a project, and then above that we have program management. So I was wondering, where would you put program management in that little bubble you have for the projects and business areas?
Well, the textbook, it's a good question, John, because program management is yet another P in the portfolio of disciplines. And then there's also portfolio management. And so now you've got 4 different product portfolio, project, program. Where does it all fit? The textbook definition is that programs are a collection of projects that need to be managed together. And it might well be that a program could be, for example, rolling out a DEI initiative across half a dozen sister companies, or half a dozen regions, each of which has their own project manager. And now there's a program manager that would oversee all of that. So with your example in the government space, it gets even more interesting. It gets even more complicated because sometimes a government program includes operations. So I remember working on in Homeland Security for a program that was screening incoming foreign nationals into the United States to see whether they had a criminal background. Well, there was new technology that was being developed on top of an existing technology infrastructure. But at the borders, at Border Patrol stations, there were already agents using these products. And there was an overall program manager in charge of the $1 billion project initiative. How about that? So, John, there's just so much nuance in this. There's no hard lines to draw, which is why I find that trying to draw straight lines around these things is less important than following Evelyn's guidance on core skills. Just use the tools that you need to use, build those skills, you'll be successful. So we learned the same thing from 2 different speakers today.
All right, yeah, thanks for the clarification. Right now we do have a question here. What is the best way to learn to navigate Copilot and features?
That's a great question. There are hundreds of Copilots. That depends on what kind of Copilot do you want to learn. So my recommendation would be a Copilot for M365. That's basically the Copilot that connected to your organizational data. Because if you use Copilot for ChatGPT, Copilot Web, that connects to LLM, like large language models, and it doesn't necessarily bring you the context that you want. So in order to get the context you want, you need to connect with your organizational data, your chats, your files, your video contents, your emails. So that's the context. And basically Microsoft Copilot uses Microsoft Graph. That's the API. It's a little technical, but don't worry, you don't need to know about it. It just connects to that API, and that API connects to your files first to make sure that you have access to those files for security purposes, then does the semantic indexing. That means that whenever you put the prompt, instead of summarizing the information for you, based on the prompt, it goes ahead and searches the most relevant information and brings it back for you. So that's why my recommendation, if from the career perspective, Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot and Copilot Studio, which you can create the custom agents, that would be helpful. I'm gonna put the links here. Everything is free. It's a Microsoft Learn, Copilot for Microsoft.
Right now, I don't see any more questions. But I was wondering, you were talking about the chatbot, so when you upload the knowledge document, where you want obviously you want the AI to look to reply using the information and knowledge. Have you seen situations where AI will actually go out and find random answers or actually find additional answers from the internet, even though it's restricted to the knowledge area?
Well, that depends whether you turned on access to external sources or not. If you turned on, that means that Copilot connects to both your data as well as external sources. So that can bring both information for you. But if you just turn off connecting the external sources, it will only refer to the data that you feed. In that case, as you saw, initially I didn't put my data, it brought information from external sources. But when I connected to my data, I turned off the external sourcing, and it only referred to my internal data. So that was just simple use case, right? Now imagine you have large data set in Snowflake or Oracle, right? So that means when you connect, it can do really amazing work for you. So you can interact with the Copilot. Hey, show me a list of projects that needs to be completed in 6 months. It goes ahead, analyze it, it brings answer back for you. But that's just retrieval, right? You can do more. You can automate it. You can create basically autonomous agents that will do as if it's human. You just provide the instructions, you create that, and later it works on behalf of you, and it also learns from its own experience, and it provides you the result saying that I think we should improve certain steps in the process. So it learns from its own process.
All right. Okay. I think we have another question. This one might be for Uma. It says, in addition to co-workers, what are some strategies to help encourage managers and organizations to become more inclusive?
This is typically the first question I always get every time I teach this course. Like, how can I make my manager to make a more inclusive team? I would say have them take the course. Seriously, I think it is about when we saw that video right in the beginning, right? Like I said, it is about team dynamics, right? We are all responsible for the team culture. So as we hold each other accountable, we also have to manage up and hold our managers accountable and mentor folks that are coming in new to the team. So we can be the leader without the title. So there's several questions as part of this class that I teach where you can actually ask those questions to build those relationships, to sustain those relationships, whether you're managing up or across or down to your team. So it is very hard to do, especially if your manager is not even trying to be inclusive, right? So it is you as a team that can help to bridge that gap. Perhaps you can assume a leadership role in your team. Happy to share more resources if you all want, but I would I would really ask you to, mildly suggest to your team to go and take that class, whether it is the Franklin Covey or anything, right? I think the first thing starts with getting educated, being even aware of what is inclusive leadership. Sometimes we are not, we make assumptions, and so we're really not aware of the words that come out of our mouth and the actions that we take in a team. Part of the class we teach is about, are you being efficient or are you being inclusive? So sometimes the decisions that managers and leaders make is trying to get it done, right? I think Jesse was talking about projects is getting it done from beginning to end and getting something from present state to future state. So trying to meet that deadline, you're trying to be efficient, and most managers and leaders are just trying to be efficient and not really trying to be uninclusive. But if we have situations where we see that, I think as a team member, you also have the opportunity to continue to advocate for each other.
Thanks, Uma.
You're welcome.
A question for Evelyn. How did you first become aware of project management? You have much more awareness than most high school students.
Thank you so much. Well, I would say that I kind of did mention it, but I first became aware of project management through my parents, both of whom earned their PMP certifications. I always saw them studying very hard for it. They're often surrounded by this thick of books and notes. So I guess their dedication really inspired me to dig deeper into what project management was all about. And I would hear them discuss like concepts like planning, risk management, and stuff like stakeholder engagement over dinner, which really like piqued my curiosity. And in addition to that, I would say that I noticed how frequently we talked about projects in school. Like my school has a study skills class. So like whether it was like working on group assignments or anything, like I realized that project management principles could not only help me excel academically, but also empower me to lead initiatives and projects effectively. And I love a good challenge. I thrive on challenges, and so I want to push myself harder. So the summer before high school, I decided to take the initiative to study project management, make this nonprofit. So yeah, and I found resources online. And I really immersed myself into the subject, and earning the project management ready certification was really a pivotal moment for me. And I think it really opened my eyes to the, structured approaches and tools that can turn an idea into a successful project. So.
All right. Yeah, that's great. Thanks. I think this is a question for Roxanne. Just curious, are you able to connect a chatbot to a subscription service that you have personally paid for access, given that you will be creating a personal chatbot for yourself, not for giving access to others?
So, by the way, the chatbots, the term is retiring soon because these are agentic, called autonomous agents. It's very different from chatbots. To be honest, I wouldn't use chatbots because they are intelligent, right? So I have never done like connecting to personal subscription or like softwares, but what you would do, if you want to do that, you would extract your data from that software and connect it to that data source. There are built-in connectors that you can use. So for organizations, they typically, they have multiple services like in Snowflake and ServiceNow, right? All they need just connect to data source, they can take it. And to your another question, you can build an AI agent for just yourself. In fact, I just shared a couple of the out-of-box agents in the chat. You can see one of them is called Project Manager. So it will connect to your planner and it will just work for you. It's going to be your, based on the team meetings, based on the project, it will create the project charter, it will create the stakeholder mapping, etc. Just using based on the instructions that you give. And you don't have to share this with others. You can create your own custom agent just for yourself.
All right. Here's a follow-on question. PMI has a closed AI in project management called Infinity. What is the pros and cons in a closed AI versus open AI in project management?
Okay. Well, I'm actually part of PMI Infinity board. So one of the challenges with the AI is, especially for enterprises, like having security layers to make sure that the chat that you expose to AI will not expose to internet, to public, right? So that's one of the challenges that organizations are facing nowadays to adopt the Gen AI. And the open means that whenever you put your organizational data, or even today, if you put anything in ChatGPT, it actually takes your information and starts training on that. Organizations, they don't want that. Enterprises, they don't want that. They want very secure AI solutions where they can put their own enterprise data, they can put their prompts. It will work for them, but it will not store information somewhere else or train their models. So that's, I think that's the meaning of open AI versus closed AI, because to be honest, I'm not really familiar with like closed or open AI. I'm familiar with, using like custom AI models that basically stores your information in specific containers just for the creating outcomes and not stores it. But overall, I think there are more pros than cons here, because you don't want your data exposed to internet, right? On the other hand, the cons here, sometimes I notice that it doesn't generate the answers that you're looking for because it's limited to the data set that you have, right? So if you have, it's the famous word like garbage in, garbage out, the same thing. If you don't have versioning, if you don't have right data structure, then it will not create the right outcomes for you, especially like Gen AI. If you have a lot of unstructured data like image, like Word files, etc., it will not reason over and generate the necessary information that you are looking for. So sometimes that's why you see organizations, they both use external and internal models together because it has far better results.
All right, well, thank you for that. Well, I think that's gonna bring us to the end. And I want to thank again to all the panelists for a great job. I think we've learned a lot. And it's evening here, so I'm gonna say good evening or good night. And thanks again. And thank you to all the attendees as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, John. Thanks, EMT. Thanks,
Thank
all the
you.
speakers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.